Hello, critical thinkers. We are live. Could everyone please do me a quick favor? Can you put a 1 in the chat if my audio sounds good? Last couple of streams I've been struggle streaming slightly. So if everyone on can just do me a favor, if you can hear me fine, see me fine, put a 1 in the chat. If for some reason you cannot hear me, or see me, put a 2 in the chat. That'll be greatly appreciated. If not, I'm going to assume that everything is great with the audio. Everything is great with the video as well. So good evening, critical thinkers. Hope all is well. Today, we are going over the Letitia James mortgage fraud accusations, charges, the federal indictment that was brought down by the federal prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia. First and foremost, this is not a political live stream. This is not a political live stream. This is a live stream that's going to be focusing on facts. So first and foremost, this is not about Donald Trump. This is not about Joe Biden. This is about the indictment against Letitia James, the New York State Attorney General. So let me give you an outline of how today's going to flow. This is a deep dive. This is not going to be a quick, I'm going to show you a couple of like news videos about the topic. We're going to be going into this topic very deeply. I'm going to be introducing to you the gentleman who was a former white-collar criminal who now is a fraud investigator. He used to work for Crazy Eddie's. For those of you who might be too young, that Crazy Eddie was a special electronics store. This is back in the 70s and 80s. So I'm kind of dating myself, but just FYI, okay? So I'm going to be introducing you to Sam Antar, who he is, his website. I'm going to show you a video of him on, I believe it's Newsbreak Media. And then we are actually going to go into the federal indictment themselves. It's a 3-count indictment. It's not a massive document. It's really a 4-page document. We'll go into the indictment and read it and go over it so you guys can understand the basics in terms of what she is being accused of and what she has been charged with. After we go over the indictment, we are going to be going over the blog of Sam Antar, who makes a very compelling argument why Letitia James is guilty of not only those 3 counts, but he claims that this is just the beginning, that she is going to have other fraud charges because there's a long-standing history of bank fraud with Letitia James. So the first thing I'm going to do is play a clip of Sam Antar on Newsmax going over what is to come for Letitia James. I'm going to pull that up now, so bear with me very quickly. Hold on. Oh, and by the way, I haven't done any commercials yet, but if everyone could please do me a favor, please like the stream, share it, and if you haven't done so already, write down in the chat where you're watching from. That'll be greatly appreciated. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the video to show you of Sam Antar on Newsmax.
Karma is a dish best served cold. Let's go deeper into that forensic accountant who first exposed Big Tish, the one, the only. Forensic accountant Sam Antar. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
So, is this political? Because you just heard Chuck Schumer talk. This is all political witch hunt. This is the weaponization of the Justice Department. Are you part of the Trump administration? Because you're the first one who actually put this all together.
First of all, I don't give a damn about Trump. I couldn't care less if it's political or not political. That's not my game. My game is forensic accounting. My game is showing proof, and that's what I've done. Every single allegation that I've made regarding her is backed up by documents, and that's why they indicted her. Now, they indicted her on only one property so far, which is her Peroni Avenue property in Norfolk, Virginia. She has 2 other properties where she's committed serial mortgage fraud, a pattern of mortgage fraud. The other one is also in Norfolk, Virginia. It's on Sterling Street. And the third property is in Brooklyn. She's committed mortgage fraud over a period of 43 years, 13 mortgages containing false information. She put her signatures on the documents, and those documents are easily publicly sourced, which I did.
Was this a simple mistake? I mean, it's one thing as somebody like I'm not an attorney. Is this a simple mistake that she could have made? Which I find hard to believe, considering she is the top attorney of New York State.
Well, the media would have you believe that this is an isolated incident because they don't want to talk about the other properties that she's going to be indicted for, which I believe she's going to be indicted for.
This is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning, okay? There's something, they put their foot in the door on this property. There's going to be superseding indictments. But when you look at one property by itself, it makes it easier for them to say it's a one-off, it's a mistake, okay? But when you look at the pattern of behavior spanning to 1983, you say every single mortgage that she signed contained false information.
Could she be guilty of mail fraud too?
Yeah, mail fraud, mail and wire fraud, that's an easy one. The feds, they did that to me. She's gonna, maybe even income tax evasion too.
Right, because she didn't put that income on her taxes.
No. Well, that's okay. Let me explain. She has what's known as a Schedule E. You file when you have rental property. On the Schedule E, it says that she had 0 personal days in the property, and she gave it a fair market rental. That was the evidence that implicated her, because the Schedule E basically says that I violated the mortgage terms. I misrepresented the mortgage because I was supposed to use it as a secondary home, not a rental.
So is Big Tish in big trouble?
She's in big trouble. You know, listen, I wouldn't want the federal government up my rear end. I had them up my rear end for 10 years. So, you know, I wouldn't want, she should stay hydrated. That's my advice to Tish James.
Why is that?
Because this is only the beginning.
This is only the beginning. All right, thank you so much, Sam Antar. As always, I look forward to having you back again. If your prediction comes true, if she's indicted further.
It's not a prediction, it's a fact.
I'll take that to the bank. All right, thank you, Sam.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. Thank you. Thank you, those who mentioned that. So I'll say this again. So Sam Antar, as you can tell, is very animated, very passionate, and believes very strongly that this is just the beginning for Tish James, that there will be superseding indictments and in reference to her other properties that she has in Queens and also in Brooklyn, New York. So one thing I'd like to do now is jump into Sam Antar's background and bio. I'm going to spend about a minute and a half on this and share this with you. We'll go over what his background is, and then we'll actually go into the indictments next. Okay, so here's some information on Sam Antar. From white collar criminal to fraud investigator. Sam E. Antar is a former certified public accountant whose career trajectory took a remarkable turn from perpetrator to investigator of financial fraud. As the former chief financial officer, CFO of Crazy Eddie, a major consumer electronics chain in the northeastern United States during the 1980s, Antar was a key figure in one of the decade's largest securities fraud schemes. His professional transformation following his criminal conviction, Antar redirected his expertise toward forensic accounting, leveraging his firsthand knowledge of financial fraud to help combat white collar crime. His unique perspective and technical expertise have made him an expert advisor to various clients, including government agencies, law enforcement organizations, law firms and accounting firms, independent investment research firms, hedge funds, and public companies. His story kind of reminds me of there was a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. For those of you who remember the film, type it in the chat. There was a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio in which he was scheming people, and then later on, he went on to actually work for the FBI. If you know the name of that film, do me a favor, write the name of that film in the chat. Okay, so Sam Antar has a similar type background. He was convicted. Yeah, catch me if you can. Absolutely right, Stacy. Thank you for that. Catch me if you can. So Sam Antar has a similar type background. Now he uses his expertise of fraud for good instead of evil. So let's jump into the next portion of the night, which is actually going into the indictment. Do not be afraid. Do not sign off and go elsewhere. This is not a long document. It's really a 4-page document. We're going to be going over the indictment quickly, and that will lay the foundation for us to go into Sam Antar's blog to look at why he is very animate and very sure that Letitia James should be convicted of mortgage fraud. So I'm going to pull up the actual indictment itself here. All right, give me one sec. Okay, let me fix this up a little bit, make it better. So here we go. So this is the actual indictment that came out from the Eastern District of Virginia. The special prosecutor here is Lindsay Halligan. She's the interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. So you'll see here, uh, actually a two. It says a 2-count indictment here. So let's actually go into the indictment and look at the general allegations. The grand jury charges that Letitia James was a resident of Brooklyn, New York, and the borrower on a Fannie Mae-backed mortgage loan for the property located at 3121 Perone Avenue in Norfolk, Virginia. OVM Financial, also known as Old Virginia Mortgage / Annie Mac, was a mortgage lending business located in Virginia Beach. Virginia engaged in the business of originating and underwriting residential mortgage loans, including those backed by the Federal National Mortgage Association, Fannie Mae. OVM Financial qualified as a financial institution within the meaning of 18 USC. Fannie Mae was a federally chartered cooperation that purchased and guaranteed mortgages, operating as a government-sponsored enterprise under the oversight of the Federal Housing Finance Agency. First Savings Bank was a state-chartered FDIC-insured financial institution headquartered in Jeffersonville, Indiana, which acquired mortgage loans through assignment or acquisition. First Savings Bank qualified as a financial institution within the meaning of 18 USC. Now we're getting to the more meatier pieces. On or about August 17th, 2020, James, as sole borrower, purchased the 3-bedroom, 1-bath property located at 3120 Perone Avenue, Norfolk, Virginia 23509, the Perone property, for approximately $137,000, financed with a mortgage loan of approximately $109,600, backed by Fannie Mae. The loan was originated by OVM Financial under assigned second home writer, which required James, as the sole borrower, to occupy and use the property as her secondary residence and prohibited its use as a time sharing or other shared ownership arrangement or agreement that requires her either to rent the property or give any other person any control over the occupancy or use of the property. Despite these representations, the Perone property was not occupied or used by James as a secondary residence and was instead used as a rental investment property, renting the property to a family of three. This misrepresentation allowed James to obtain favorable loan terms not available for investment properties, including a note rate of 3%, avoiding a 0.815 higher comparable investment property rate of 3.815, resulting in approximately $17,837 in rate savings over the life of the loan. A seller credit of 3,288, exceeding the seller credit for investment properties by 1,096, for total ill-gotten gains of approximately 18,933 over the life of the loan. James's universal property application for homeowners insurance indicated owner occupied non-seasonal use, further misrepresenting the intended use of the property. James filed Schedule E tax forms under penalties of perjury, treating the Perone property as rental real estate, reporting fair rental days, zero personal use days, thousands of dollars in rents received, and claiming deductions for expenses relating to the property, further contradicting the second home classification. The loan was acquired by or assigned to First Savings Bank by March 2021, exposing it to risk associated with the misrepresented loan. The acts described herein within the Eastern District of Virginia. Count one. Count one is bank fraud. The allegations in paragraphs 1 through 12 are re-alleged and incorporated herein. From on or about August 7th, 2020, through at least January 2024, in the Eastern District of Virginia and elsewhere, the defendant, Letitia James, did knowingly execute and attempt to execute a scheme and an artifice to defraud OVM Financial and First Savings Bank, financial institutions, and to obtain monies, funds, and credits owned by and under the custody and control of OVM Financial and First Savings Bank by means of false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises. 15. The scheme involved falsely representing the Perone property as a secondary residence to obtain favorable mortgage terms, while using it as an investment property with no intended or actual personal occupancy or use by her. So this bank fraud charge has to do with how she classified the property as a secondary place of residence rather than an income property. Let's jump to count two. 16, the allegations in paragraphs 1 through 12 are re-alleged and incorporated herein. From on or about July 28th, 2020, through at least August 31st, 2020, in the Eastern District of Virginia and elsewhere, the defendant, Letitia James, did knowingly make and cause to be made false statements and reports for the purposes of influencing the action of OVM Financial a Fannie Mae-backed lender, upon an application for a loan, in that James represented and affirmed in uniform residential loan applications and related documents that the Perone property would be used as a secondary residence, when in truth and fact, as James then knew the property was intended and used as an investment property with no intended or actual personal occupancy or use by her. This is the forfeiture notice. Pursuant to Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure, upon conviction of the offenses in counts 1 and 2, the defendant, Letitia A. James, shall forfeit to the United States any property constituting or derived from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of such violations, including, but not limited to, a money judgment in the amount of $18,933. If any of the property described above as a result of any act or omission of the defendant cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third party, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, has been commingled with other property which cannot be divided without difficulty, the United States shall be entitled to a forfeiture of substitute property pursuant to Title 21 U.S.C. And that's it. That's the end of the article. I'm sorry, that's the end of the indictment. My apologies. I started the stream saying it was a 3-count indictment when actually it is a 2-count indictment, and those 2 counts are bank fraud and false statements to a financial institution. Now let's jump to the actual argument that's being made as to why she's guilty of this fraud. So I'm going to pull up Sam Antar's blog. We'll go over it. This piece should take about, I want to say about 15 minutes, because he does a very thorough explanation and description of what's occurring. So I'm going to pull that up now. I will minimize myself here. Okay, so this is from a white collar fraud. After this live stream is over, I'm going to include all of the links in the description. Oh, and by the way, um, Sam Antar, he links all the documents he makes reference to. It's linked in his blog. So let's jump to it. Although this is from September 19th, 2025, I believe this blog post gives a very accurate and a good representation of his argument per se. Federal prosecutors have everything needed. I'm sorry, federal prosecutors have everything they need to convict Letitia James. So why won't Erik Siebert act? The evidence ABC News won't report. Now, Erik Siebert was the federal prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia prior to Lindsay Halligan. Erik Siebert, quote unquote, resigned. Donald Trump said he fired him because Erik Siebert would not bring forth charges against Letitia James. Just FYI. And let's move on with this. ABC News reported yesterday. I mean, this is back on September 19th, so just FYI. ABC News reported yesterday that U.S. Attorney Erik Siebert may be fired after declining to prosecute New York Attorney General Letitia James for mortgage fraud. According to their sources, despite a 5-month investigation that found evidence, Siebert chose not to bring charges. And the next day, September 20th, Siebert resigned. Again, Donald Trump said he was fired. Whether or not that reporting proves accurate, the evidence itself is overwhelming and deserves to be examined on its merits. We wrote to Mr. Siebert in or August 9th, 2025 article that this case would test whether our justice system applies equally to everyone. We noted a Virginia grand jury has already been convened based on mortgage fraud that occurred in your future jurisdiction. The evidence is documented, the witnesses are government employees, and the defendant is using media manipulation to escape accountability. While this investigation continues, James spent this week on a media tour, Joy Reid, CBS New York, making claims about the investigation that the evidence contradicts. She claimed you need quote unquote intent for mortgage fraud, yet there's an email proving intent. She claimed prosecutors are rare. She claimed prosecutions are rare, yet there's precedent demanding prosecution. She claimed it was an error, yet there's proof she knew it was false when she signed it. Mr. Siebert, if ABC's reporting about your investigation is accurate, you have assembled compelling evidence that demands careful consideration. Let me show you exactly what the evidence reveals and why the law requires prosecution. The documentary proof that demands prosecution. August 2nd, 2023, Letitia James sent an email to her mortgage broker about a Virginia property she was purchasing. The message was unambiguous. I'm going to pull this up here. This is a message. Certain things have been blotted out. The property will not be my primary residence. It will be Shamisha's property residence. Okay. Let's jump back. The very next day, August 3rd, 2023, her broker confirmed that James's role was listed as a non-occupying co-borrower, and the loan was locked as a primary residence product for her niece. Every other document in the loan file before the POA, which is power of attorney, accurately states James will not reside at the property. Then, this deliberate false declaration. August 17th, 2023, James signed a power of attorney under penalty of perjury, declaring, I hereby declare that I intend to occupy this property as my principal residence. And Sam Antar has emphasized this piece here. He says, game over. This isn't about complex underwriting requirements or technical mortgage details. This is about a sitting attorney general who made contradictory sworn statements 15 days apart in the same federal transaction, with written proof of her knowledge that the declaration was false. The power of attorney was recorded as part of the official mortgage documentation in Virginia land records, and she never corrected the false primary residence declaration. The next piece of his blog is why this sequence proves everything. ABC News reported in their September 17th article, every other document in James' loan file for the mortgage accurately stated that she would not reside at the home, as if this somehow helps her defense. Sam Antar claims it makes it worse. Those accurate documents came first. They proved James knew the truth before she signed the false power of attorney. This isn't a mistake that got corrected. It's accurate documents followed by a deliberate false sworn statement. The chronology proves premeditation. She documented the truth, won't live there. She communicated the truth to broker. Loan documents reflected the truth. Then she swore to the opposite under penalty of perjury. This sequence proves intent beyond any reasonable doubt. The government witnesses who saw her side. The POA was witnessed by one, Jennifer Levy, first Deputy Attorney General, 305 Parkside Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Sharona Parchment, AG office staff, 41 Pine Street, Staten Island, New York. Both signed, "We declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct." The power of attorney was also notarized in person by Julius Crockwell, Notary Public, State of New York, executed on August 17th, 2023 in New York County, New York, filed with the mortgage documents in Virginia Land Records. And here you have this here. Okay. What ABC News admitted about the investigation. From their September 17th report, investigators have so far determined that the document, a limited power of attorney form used by James's niece to sign documents on her behalf when James closed on the home, was never considered by the loan officers who approved the mortgage, sources said. But this admission is legally irrelevant. Under United States versus Wells, actual consideration or reliance by loan officers is not required for conviction under 18 USC. The crime is complete when the false statement is made for the purpose of influencing, regardless of whether anyone actually reads it or relies on it. And crucially, every other document in James' loan file for the mortgage accurately stated that she would not reside at the home. This is an admission that the investigation confirmed. The false POA exists. James knew the truth. Other documents came first. She signed the false statement anyway. It was filed with the mortgage. ABC selective reporting, hiding the pattern. What ABC News deliberately omitted in their extensive reporting on the Virginia investigation, ABC News made a telling choice. Complete silence about James's Brooklyn property and its 20-year pattern of mortgage fraud. This is what we see in the Newsmax video I played earlier. Sam Antar talking about other properties and seeing a pattern of fraud. ABC's coverage. Detailed discussion of Virginia POA, power of attorney, quotes from James's attorney about Virginia, investigation timeline for Virginia, zero mention of Brooklyn fraud pattern, no discussion of federal hemp fraud, silence on 20 years of false statements. Why this omission matters. By focusing solely on Virginia while ignoring Brooklyn, ABC News makes James's fraud appear to be an isolated incident. One document, one property, one possible error. The reality they're hiding. Brooklyn, 20 plus years of systemic fraud. Federal hand, defrauded government program, 2011. Pattern, 3 properties across 40 years. This isn't journalism, it's selective reporting designed to minimize a career criminal pattern. One false POA might be an error. 20 years of false mortgage statements across multiple properties while defrauding federal programs is organized crime. ABC knows about Brooklyn. They chose to hide it. Ask yourself why. The Brooklyn fraud everyone is deliberately ignoring. The deafening silence. June 4th, New York's Attorney General on Pod Save America. Check. Discusses Virginia property. Complete silence on Brooklyn. June 13th, the New York Times. Not one word about Brooklyn. What they're all hiding? 296 Lafayette Avenue, The documented reality. By the way, these are hyperlinked. Certificate of occupancy, legal 5-unit building. Physical verification by Joel Gilbert and me, 5 doorbells, 5 mailboxes. Con Edison verification, 6 meters, including 1 meter for common areas, leaving 5 meters for apartments. Every mortgage document for 20 years consistently reported as 1 to 4 units. And the reason why it would not be listed as a 5-unit building, Sam Antar is saying that if it was to be listed as a 5-unit building, then it affects the mortgage rate. The 20-year fraud pattern, every single mortgage falsely reports 4 units or less. Timeline of documented evidence. In mortgage after mortgage, year after year, the property is consistently misrepresented, sometimes as a 4-family dwelling, other times as a 1 or 2-family residence, but never once as the 5-unit building it legally is. June 21st, 2021. So I'm not going to read all this. This is a listing of all of the mortgages that were taken out on that 5-unit property. And you can see there's multiple, there's about 9 mortgages that were taken out. And here are the misrepresentations. Pattern, 10 plus false statements across 20 years to different federal lenders, each misrepresenting the same property to obtain better residential loan terms. The federal crime no one will discuss, 2011 hemp fraud. As first uncovered by Gateway pundits Joel Gilbert and expanded in my subsequent investigation, the hemp modification details federal program for struggling homeowners affected by 2008 financial crisis, explicitly excluded buildings with 5+ units to prevent commercial property owners from accessing homeowner relief. James qualified by falsely reporting 4 units instead of 5. Suspicious handwritten 4-family notation added to documents. Contradictory language about, quote, not more than 6 residential units, suggesting knowledge of actual unit count. Save James approximately $2,000 plus a month through reduced payments. This represents systematic defrauding of a federal relief program specifically designed for struggling homeowners, not commercial property investors masquerading as homeowners. Even in 2020, while serving as Attorney General, even as recently as 2020, while serving as Attorney General, James submitted building permits explicitly stating dwelling units existing 4, despite the certificate of occupancy listing 5 units for 19 years. July 20th application documents show dwelling units existing 4, despite the certificate of occupancy listing 5 units for the past 19 years. September 20 application. Another filing repeats the same inconsistent information. When someone files a complaint citing that permit applications signed by Letitia James appear to contain false information, the Department of Buildings dismissed it as a minor error. Special treatment not afforded to ordinary New Yorkers, as documented in our April 14th, 2025 investigation. This selective enforcement demonstrates the systematic protection James received while engaging in documented fraud. In a subsequent complaint filed in 2025, the DOB was forced to address the unit count discrepancy directly. On May 13, 2025, the New York City Department of Buildings closed the complaint with a resolution statement that inadvertently provided prosecutors with devastating confirmation of our investigation. No violation warranted for complaint at time of inspection. Why everyone ignores Brooklyn. For James, it proves pattern and elevates this to RICO. For prosecutors, it's 20 plus separate felonies they'd have to charge. For media, it destroys the isolated error narrative. For Siebert, it made the case too big to bury. The Brooklyn property isn't just additional evidence, it's proof of a 20-year criminal enterprise. One false power of attorney might be an error, 20 years of false statements across multiple lenders while collecting federal benefits is organized crime. Everyone talks about Virginia. Some mention Queens. No one will touch Brooklyn because Brooklyn proves this isn't a mistake or isolated incident. It's a 4-decade criminal enterprise by New York's Attorney General. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. We'll stop the blog post there. So tell me, what do you guys believe? Do you think there is enough to stand on? Do you think these charges are warranted based on Sam Antar's documentation, his argument? Do you believe she will be convicted? Let me know in the chat if you believe she will be convicted of bank and mortgage fraud. Okay. So I want to thank everyone for being on. Thank you for sitting through the indictment, the video, the argument that Sam Antar is making. I'm going to be linking his website and that blog post in the description. So for everyone, take care. God bless, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.